This is a 6th generation Corvette. This 2013 edition is powered by a 430 horsepower LS3 6.2 liter V8 with a 6-speed automatic transmission. That's Corvette Chief Engineer Tadge Uchter behind the wheel. Tadge joined GM in 1977 and began working on Corvettes in the 90s. Throughout C6 development, Tadge was Assistant Chief Engineer for Corvettes. Tadge has been busy with the launch of the 7th generation Corvette Stingray, not to mention the Z06 version, but not so busy that he couldn't drive Car and Driver down memory lane in ancestral Corvettes from C1 through C6. I've known him for 20 years, and he's always been the kind of guy who's up for a quick spin around the block for no reason other than to talk Corvettes with a fellow car nerd.
I've been reading you since 1967.
No, you haven't, because I didn't start till 71.
71?
Yeah.
Well, I've been reading Car and Driver since 67, but my first imprint of great automotive journalism was some of the stuff you guys did. And I would memorize it. I would read it cover to cover, and I had photographic memory. I could tell you anything that was in that magazine.
That's a compliment. I'm glad you paid attention. Hope you weren't reading our competitors, but...
Car and Driver was always number one.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doug.
Made my day.
All right.
All right. During the C6 era, you made some very significant quality strides, interior especially. You addressed the steering and improved that with variable ratio and better feel.
No. Smaller wheel, a little bit smaller. You notice from C4 to C5, the wheel diameter actually got bigger. On a trend that was generally smaller, that was a 386 wheel. Now we're back to a 370 on this.
This doesn't have the optional wrapped upgrade either, does it?
No, this is pretty close to the standard condition, what we're looking at here. This car doesn't have a heads-up display.
That was a great stride. I think customers like that a lot.
Heads up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even people who don't like it at first, once they get used to it, they start to miss it after they don't have it. We just came out of a Z06 on the C5. This thing's like a limousine in comparison.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, very
it's quiet,
plush riding.
Yeah, it's funny that there's difference. Very comfortable, very confident driving.
Well, you figured out the geometry and the compliance, and making sure the wheels were pointing the right direction
Always
all the
pointed.
time. The electric steering in C7 is variable ratio too, isn't it?
Yes, it is. You know, it's a little bit slower on center, so the car doesn't get darty at high speeds, and then it gradually increases ratio as you move off center, so it reduces the driver workload. We've improved the turn circle 2 feet, so the front wheels actually steer farther than on this car.
Was that difficult to do?
Yeah, it's always a tough balance. The more you steer those big tires, the more you start to intrude on body structure. If you look, you'll see that the tie rods aren't straight, they're hooked. They have a lot of shape to them. That's because they have to actually wrap around the wheel at the full lock condition. And that's why we're making them out of forged steel instead of forged aluminum, to get the stiffness back even though it's not a dead straight tie rod.
Do customers comment about the turn circle?
It's not one of their top complaints to me, but driving the car, it's one of the things that makes the car feel big. You know, we're trying to combat the sense that the car is a big car. We want to make it easier to do U-turns or maneuver the car in parking lots, make it less cumbersome, and actually make it feel more nimble just by making it turn sharper.
You think that'll help appeal in Europe, where narrow streets and tight corners and all that are really an issue?
Oh yeah, it'll help more so in Europe than here, but I think U.S. customers will appreciate it as well.
So did you shed a tear when the last C6 was built?
Just a momentary tear. We got a lot of mileage out of this girl. Both the C5 and C6, which have the same fundamental underpinnings, you know, was awesome for its time. It was a strong enough concept structurally and package-wise to last through 8 years of the C5 and 9 years of C6, so 17 years of life cycles, incredibly long time in the auto industry, but it was time to do an all-new car with the C7.
I think you were smart to go after seemingly less important issues such as upgrading the interior quality, adding optional leather wrapping, and improving the steering. I mean, just working away at any hint of less than perfection that you found within that platform to make it incrementally better.
We really wanted to have a car that's fully realized in every attribute and every way somebody might perceive what the quality of the car is like.
I keep pressing you towards moving the center of gravity rearward, and you did make a stride. According to measurements you and I made, C7 has a slight rear bias with Z51.
Correct.
Maybe for the first time.
Previously, we had been 50-50 with rounding, but we were just slightly forward biased. Now we're slightly rearward biased.
Yep, and that's the right direction. And of course, I'm in favor of
making a much bigger step in that
keeping
direction.
going in that direction, because from the physics, rear bias is better. So I would encourage you to think on that subject.
It's a conversation for another day.
Thank you, Taj. You're
Thank
a
you,
great
Don.
chief engineer.
Thank
and
you.
A great host too.
And you're a great writer.
Not really, but thank you.